I am the product of Palestinian immigrant parents that moved to the Bible Belt in Dalton, Georgia when I was very young. My parents always told me that with hard work and dedication, you can get everything you want. And honestly, I just didn't believe it. I thought that I was destined to just be another faceless kid that was growing up in a small town with no chances of opportunity. When I was about 7, 8 years old, I started working in my dad's mechanic shop because with 6 kids at home, we just weren't making ends meet. And I thought, this is my life. I'm gonna be a mechanic or a tire changer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I thought that this was everything that I was able to do. After a couple of years of working in mechanic shops, I started learning how to sell cars. Can you imagine how goofy a 10-year-old kid with big old ears looks when they're trying to sell a $500 car? But that was me. That was the hustling mentality. That's just how we grew up. By middle school, I started opening up an e-commerce store. My mom would pick me up from school every single day to take me home so that I can package all of these amplifiers, air purifiers, polo shirts, literally whatever I could get my hands on to sell, make money for my family so that we could keep a roof over our heads and keep food on the table. But things started to change right around I was 15, 16 years old. My dad took us to the first Vegas trade show. We were able to get a badge from one of the companies that we worked with, and because of that, we started working and building up our car audio business. When I was 19 years old, I got an order for about $15,000 or $17,000, the biggest sale that I'd ever made up until that point. The second time I went, it was a $25,000 order, and it was the first time that I ever felt completely defeated. He gave me a stack of checks and said, hey, just cash these over time. None of that money was there. Kept calling him back, hey man, what's going on? Are you gonna pay me? You know what? Why don't you come over here and get your product back? I'll put a bullet in your head. That was almost a decade ago when I made a $25,000 mistake. When I went to law school finally a few years later, I realized that the reason I made that mistake was because I was blindsided by the money. I finished my law degree, got my doctorate in law, master's in business, and said, all right, I want to do something that makes a difference. Yeah, I want to make a lot of money, but I want to have something that has some sort of purpose. A really close family member of mine was involved in an accident and he ended up being paralyzed. And I realized that there's a shortage of attorneys that actually care. And the biggest problem that we're facing in the legal community is connectedness. It's so hard to have access to an expert doctor or an expert lawyer or an expert professional in any field. And I wanted to change that. When I created the CEO Lawyer brand, I said, I want this to be a symbol. I want this to be a representation of access to professionals and hopefully change the way that everyone conducts themselves. I want it to always be personal. I want to be able to always talk to you, message you, comment, share, anything that you do through social media, it's going to be me doing it. If I would have had access to an attorney that 10 years ago, probably would have never made that $25,000 mistake, but I also probably wouldn't be here today.